Okay, if you're someone who considers yourself to be a light worker or an earth angel who has recurring master number patterns in your date of birth and in the Jewish numerology for your birth name that you may or may not still be using. Okay, if you consider yourself to be a so-called alleged starseed, whether you've got a DNA test to confirm that some of your DNA is unidentifiable or not. And of course, even if you confirm it by DNA, nobody gives a shit, because the only thing they care about is, do they have power over you to do as they please without consequences or not? I mean, that's just the gist of it. So anyway, if you fall into one of those categories, what I'm about to say might sound a little uncomfortable. Okay? So during spiritual practice and during exploration of the self and of spirituality and trying to get it to the root of personal problems that we know under certain circumstances really, resolving it in a decent administrative or socially proper way, it's not a real option, regardless of the race of the community you're in sometimes. This is part of the reason why people look into spirituality, because they want their life to hurt less. And sometimes there are some problems where, regardless of the race of people you're dealing with, doing things the right way, it's not a real option. They present as if it is, but it's really not. Okay? So in looking to spirituality in the attempt to have a life that hurts less, in looking into it in an attempt to get at the real root of specific, precise spiritual problems or personal problems or societal or planetary problems, sometimes it can be easy to look at a miracle or look at a spiritual manifestation and to look at someone being able to tell us about our personal life without us having to tell them anything. Things maybe we never told another person, things maybe we've never put on the internet. Maybe we might get a feeling of a sense of validation from that, right? Okay. But instead of getting excited over verbal validation of undisclosed information, instead of getting excited over a miracle, right? We need to say, okay, let's look at what's not being said. Let's look at what's not being addressed, because the things that are not being said, the things that are not being addressed, it speaks equally as loud as the things that are being done or spoken on, or if not louder. Okay? Just, in just different types of issues you're looking at. Look at what's not being said. Okay? Like, let me try to give some examples of that. Like, okay, let's say if you were like me and a couple of weeks before the mass shooting, like maybe about a week or two before the mass shooting that took the lives of several Asian women in an Atlanta massage parlor, okay? A week or two before that happened, I had a dream of some black men of indigenous descent and also some reservation Indian males of indigenous descent. Mind you, not one female in the group anywhere. Red flag. Not one heterosexual female in the group. There were no biological females, no heterosexual females anywhere. No one biologically a woman and also heterosexual included in their little council. And when these Black men and reservation men of indigenous descent appeared in my dream to tell me there would be a spiritual war, at first I got kind of excited because I thought, oh, wow, this is a pretty big deal. I wonder, I thought it was a breakthrough and a turning point in my spiritual practice and trying to get to the heart of the problems in Judaism and in Christianity and in African spirituality and societal problems and specific spiritually rooted personal issues. I thought I was finally getting to a turning point in all of that. But in actuality, maybe I wasn't, and here's why. Okay. So a week or two before the Asian women got mass murdered by a white guy in a massage parlor, this was like, and they died the week of Hebrew Passover is when these Asian women died. It was the week of Passover, they were killed. And, and in my dream warning of a spiritual war before it happened, one thing that I kind of noticed when I looked back on my dream a week or two before the mass murder, one thing I noticed is, for one, the men who appeared to me in my dream, the Black men and the reservation men who are of indigenous descent, they didn't tell me where to go for safety. They didn't tell me what to do for safety. They did not offer me any names or phone numbers of any individuals who would accept me as I am and who share my beliefs and also live according to my beliefs. And I mean, as far as personal standards, I'm not even talking about religion. I'm just talking about ways of being, okay? They gave me no information about where I could find other women who are like me in character and lifestyle and beliefs and practices. They gave me no information on where I could find men or a community who's like me in my beliefs and lifestyle and personal practices. They don't have to be the same religion as me. But I'm kind of noticing a lot of conflict on a specific level, so maybe people do have to be the same religion as you. I don't know. But anyway, but yeah, like, I noticed that they didn't tell me where to go or what to do or where to find others, where to find a community of others more like myself to try to build up and stabilize and to get help to save my kids and to be safe and stable through the worst things that are coming on this nation and the world. I noticed that they did not tell me any of that in my warning dream that I had a week or two before the mass murder of the Asian women. And at the time, I was homeless. I had been with family members and also an ex who would take money from me and then literally threaten to kick me out or throw me out on the streets after I gave it to them. Or in the case of my ex, what he would do is, if I was trying to save money to get up my own place to live by myself, he would abandon me before I could save up enough money to live alone. And I was on a very limited income. So, I kept ending up homeless over and over again because most of the homeless shelters were full. And the few that would let me in for a little short period of time, the hostility from the other women and the gay men was extremely high. So I couldn't really get stable and save enough money to get a place to live in a homeless shelter either. Okay. So I was in a time of my life where I had all this instability and hostility surrounding me, and there was no way out. And while I was with my ex, I was literally starving myself, and I took some of my money and bought a steel bone corset because I really needed the back support really bad. My back pain was so bad that I could not do something as small as crossing a street or washing dishes without back pain. I couldn't walk very far without a back pain and hip pain. I couldn't walk in a grocery store to buy food for more than 15 or 20 minutes without the onset of back pain or hip pain that would get worse if I stayed in there doing it longer. So I was starving myself to reduce my weight, and I took some of my money to buy a steel bone corset because, instead of having 5 minutes to try to do things, or 10 minutes to try to do things to take care of myself without pain, I could extend it out further and maybe have 15 minutes or 20 minutes or maybe 30 minutes to try to do things to take care of myself without the onset of the back and the hip pain if I had it. And even though I told my ex over and over again how much pain I was in just from trying to do small things like wash dishes or cross a street or buy food, he would ignore me, and it would go in one ear and out the other, because the only thing, and literally the only thing he wanted to hear from me is that he just wanted me to treat him like he was my master because he's dark skinned. He wanted me to give the only thing he wanted to see from me is passive agreement, just like a lot of white women. The only thing he wanted to hear from me was, "Oh, I'll never save money to try to get my own home again. All I want is to just pile up with you and some other women and eat pussy, and you can hit me and you can disrespect me and shit on me and emotionally abuse me as much as you want to. The only thing I need is to just obey you and serve you and eat pussy." I mean, really, that's literally the only thing he wanted to hear from me. Literally the only thing. Anything I said outside of that about how much pain I was in, it would go in one ear and out the other. And when I bought a steel bone corset for back support, he called me a stupid bitch wasting my money on something that I did not need. And he called me a stupid bitch wasting money on something that I did not need. Why? Because anything outside of trying to kiss his ass, no matter how badly he emotionally abuses me or shows me racism on the same level as a white person, I'm supposed to treat him as my master, only show passive agreement and never speak up on anything. The only thing he wanted to hear from me is, how can I serve you? How can I please you? When can I pile up with other females and lick some clit? That's literally all he wanted to hear from me. He didn't care. He didn't care how much pain I was in when I was buying things that I needed to try to get my back pain and my weight under control. Because I also have a very long tear in my stomach muscles down the front of my body that I hide when I leave home. I hide it every day. I hide it. So I can keep my intestines properly tucked into my body. But anyway, and that contributed a lot to the back problem. So I had to borderline starve myself and buy the steel bone corset to support my back while I was doing this, because I needed to be able to take care of myself. I couldn't depend on someone who was emotionally abusing me forever. No. So yeah, he would call me a dumb bitch who wastes money while I was buying things that I needed to work on my body to try to force my situation to a point where I could take care of myself where I could buy my own food, where I can walk to a bus stop, where I can do things to take care of me without breaking down in the first 15 to 30 minutes. Okay? This is something I had to do. And I didn't appreciate having every word out of my mouth ignored and being called a dumb bitch for getting things that I really needed. I didn't like being abandoned over and over again so that I couldn't save up enough money to live by myself. I didn't like getting mobbed and bullied and having all these ugly and false reports piled up on me by gay men who actually were Satan worshipers, and also women who were in agreement with them. I didn't like going through that over and over again because they were trying to keep me from being able to save up enough money to get a home. You know, and like I said, most of the homeless shelters in most cities that were full. There was nowhere to go. In the one I only found 2 shelters to go to over the course of 2 years. And, you know, the second one, I just barely stayed in long enough to find a cheap apartment. Barely. You know, I was in the second one for only 2 months, and it was a huge battle just trying to stay in for the 2 months to try to get my own place. You know, because I'm not a mean person. I'm not a bully. I don't go around trying to fuck with people. And as far as having a spiritual calling with certain types of people, it's a waste of time to even try to act like that even a tiny little bit, because they don't fucking care. They don't. But anyway, getting back to what I'm saying is that my main point is that I had a lot of instability, a lot of emotional abuse, a lot of abandonment, and couldn't find a stable place to live while at the time when I received my warning dream a week or two before some Asian women were mass murdered by a white guy in a massage parlor, okay? And there were 0 male victims. It was only women who died. Key point. No men, just only females. And this is the week of Passover. And when you think about it, no, I'm not even going to go there. I'm not going to go there right now. So anyway, you know, I took a step back and I just looked at what was not being said. I needed to be somewhere safe. I needed to know the truth about what I really needed to be secure, to be properly informed, and to stop being targeted by occultists so much, especially the homosexual biological male ones and the women who they like to send after me, or the bisexual male occultists and the women they like to send after me. And before I found a home, I needed real, actual information on what I needed to do to be safe spiritually. In reality, I needed real information on what I needed to find a community of people who's more like myself and not deal with fucktards who's just really nasty and really mean and really destructive to the world as a whole. You know, I needed information on just how to not be immersed and submerged and surrounded by that. And did I get any information on where to go to find a community where I could be accepted and be with others like myself in their character, beliefs, and practices? No, I didn't get that information. When it was my own people from the black side and the Indian side showing up in a warning dream, but with 0 biological females and 0 heterosexual women present. You know, I'm cooking something. I gotta go get my food. But all I'm trying to say is, whether you're dealing with, you know, whether you know what you're dealing with spiritually, whether you don't know, you're trying to figure it out, look at what's not being said. No matter what kind of spirits, no matter what kind of people, no matter what kind of miracles, even if it's a miracle that defies the laws of physics, look at what's not being said. And then you got to ask yourself, what's the real way out? The Bible says test the spirits, but it's not as straightforward as a lot of people think. Because again, whether you're dealing with Christians, pagans, spirits, people, whatever, look at what's not being said. And I got to cut this video short because I don't want my food to boil over.